Your Tai Chi is really like telling a story. You're wherever you are on the continuum of your learning about Tai Chi and learning to do Tai Chi, it's what your story is, and it's how you can express your story. So, since it's Christmas time, I thought I would take 4 very well-known Christmas stories and relate them to where you might be on your continuum of learning and understanding, kind of relating how that story gets richer and deeper as you go. So when you first start, you're kind of like Frosty the Snowman. It's a fun, light, fluffy story. That's really, there's not a lot of depth to it, about a snowman and he eventually melts, right? But when you relate that to your Tai Chi, it's when you're first starting to learn the movements. And you learn single whip. You learn to form a bird's beak, and you step out and single whip. Maybe you're doing single whip a little like this. Maybe you're pushing a little bit. You learn wave hands like clouds, and you learn to do your right hand, and you learn to do your left, and you learn to do your right and left. And maybe even you learn to step with it. But that's about where you are. Light, fluffy, you're having fun with it. You're learning the movements. And that's where everybody has to start. Then let's think about Rudolph. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. It's a little bit more substance to the story. You're learning about valuing other people, even if they're different, valuing other reindeers, even if they have a big red nose. So you're learning more about friendships and valuing others. With your Tai Chi, you know the movements. Now you know them and you're starting to connect them, right? So you can come into your single whip and you know that now you have to do your left and step in with your right, step out with your left, step in with your right, step out with your left, step in with your right, and then you have to remember to form a bird's beak here, and then step out into your single whip, right? So you're connecting those movements, but it's still not really understanding Tai Chi. Because how do we understand Tai Chi? It's about applying, understanding, and applying those underlying principles. So let's think about The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, right? Think about one of the very last parts of that book or parts of the movie where the Grinch says, he goes, "Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more." So you're starting to get more into the heart of Christmas means more than just packages and getting things, decorating. Christmas means more than that. With your Tai Chi, you're understanding that you're starting to think about those underlying principles. You're starting to apply them to your movements. When you think about your single whip, you say, oh yeah, I'm supposed to rotate into that single whip, and I'm supposed to keep my columns intact. And then I do my wave hands like clouds. And oh yeah, I'm supposed to rotate, and my hands are supposed to start to move together. They're not separate. And learning to move with a little bit more grace, a little bit more understanding. Now, in reality, where you are, you know the form, you're starting to apply those underlying principles. Perhaps it's going a little too quickly, right? Where it's single whip and wave hands like clouds. You're applying that rotation, but really not slowing yourself down and being able to be in the moment and really applying that principle of continuous flow, that meditative effect, breathing, applying all of the principles. That really comes down to the crux and the true meaning, right? So we now come to the story of Charlie Brown's Christmas. And remember, Charlie Brown is trying to find joy. He has no joy in the season, and he's very frustrated, and he can't figure out the real meaning of Christmas. And at the end, remember, Linus goes onto the stage with his trusty blanket, and he says, "And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which will be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord." And Linus says that, Charlie Brown, is the real meaning of Christmas. So when you get to that place in your Tai Chi where you're understanding all of the principles, where you're understanding and applying being rooted and grounded, being slow, thinking about your substantial and insubstantial, being able to feel that connectedness, breathing with your movement, being in the moment. Not that any of us ever reach that perfection, but that's what we're moving towards. That's what we're trying to achieve, is the real meaning. Like the Charlie Brown Christmas, getting at the real meaning of Christmas. When you're working on your Tai Chi, work on that real understanding of those underlying principles, applying them as much as you can. And know that it's a lifelong process. And that's a good thing, because we can do Tai Chi for the rest of our lives, and we can get the benefits for the rest of our lives. So Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season.